going to give us a program today. This is her second program for us in assisted living, so we appreciate her taking the time to do that and talk about this great trip that she took. They're going to record it, Michael is, to possibly show on the Oak Knoll channel at a later time, or to show to other residents who maybe couldn't make it today. So we'll be kind of conscious of that. So Wetherill is going to be a little bit confined to where she's standing, so to stay in frame. So I think we should be good. But thank you so much, Wetherill.
Wow. Okay. So this is all going to be about my bike ride across America. This happened in 1995, and it was called the Iowa 150, the 150 Expedition, a bike ride across America. And the whole idea was, is the volume okay? I guess so.
You said speak a little louder.
Oh, loud.
I didn't bring you a microphone. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Just gotta speak a little louder.
okay.
Should I get a microphone?
The reason that they were taking this bike ride across America in 1995 was because Iowa was going to be celebrating 150 years of statehood the next year. 1996 was our sesquicentennial. And so the idea was that we were to go across the country, across the country, telling people about Iowa and inviting them to visit the next year, because they were going to spend the whole year celebrating. So let's see. I'm not terribly organized. This was the little booklet that they wanted us to pass out to people, and I'm just going to read the first part. It says, so this was from Terry Branstad, who was the governor of Iowa, and also from Robert Ray, who was the head of making this celebration come together. He was the chairman of that commission. Okay, it says, greetings from Iowa. In this land between two rivers, the year 1996 marks a festive life milestone in our state's history, the Iowa Sesquicentennial, 150 years of statehood. To help kick off this year-long event, the 300 intrepid bicyclists of the Iowa 150 bike ride will travel 5,000 miles through 14 states for 100 days with one mission in mind: invite the people of the United States to Iowa to help celebrate the 150-year anniversary. Iowa's founders would be proud to see how well their heartland home is doing today in education, business development, finance, fiber optics, and agricultural related industries. We've built upon our Midwest heritage a progressive 21st century state. That's worth celebrating. Please join us. And one of the things that they did to help teach everybody about Iowa was they had the Iowa 150 van, and this was a trailer. It was it's probably about as long as this room, and maybe half as wide, and it was set up so people could walk in one end and look at various displays about Iowa, about the history and about geology and just all the special events that have happened in Iowa, and then people got to have some Jolly Time popcorn, because that's popcorn made here in Iowa. and that van went along, so we were out for 100 days, and that van went along to every stop that we were in. They were at that each night that we stopped. So I wanted to let you know what I had to go through. It was about a year and a half before the ride that a friend of mine heard about this, and she decided she was going on the ride and asked me if I thought I wanted to do it. And I thought for a few minutes and decided that was something I wanted to take on. So it took me about a year and a half to get ready, and at the time my work was a city bus driver here in Iowa City, and so I realized if I was going to be gone for 3 months, I would have to get permission to do this because I didn't have that much vacation signed up. I think in the end, by the time I went, I had half of it in vacation, but then I had to get permission to have leave of absence for the rest of it. So the letter that I sent to the transit manager, oh no, sorry, the one before that was the letter I sent to Chuck and Carla Offenberger were the two people who organized this ride. So I sent them a letter to say I would like to go on the ride. Please send an application for the Iowa 150 ride, which you are planning for the summer of 1995. Enclosed is my check for $25. That's all we had to pay to get on the ride. Having ridden on RAGRI the last 9 years, I know how expert you and Don are at organizing a ride and planning the route. So that was Don Benson. He used to plan the routes each summer for RAGRI, and so he was the one who was responsible for planning this one all the way across the country. I am a good friend of Don Koch and Meg Barron, who have both signed to go on the 95 ride. I do hope I will be on your list as well. Sincerely, Wetherill. And then let's see.
Thank you, my dear.
So when I found out that I was going to be able to go on the ride, I sent a letter to the transit manager to ask permission to be gone for half the summer. So this actually, this was in February. February 19th. So it was only a few days after I sent in that first letter. I sent this one to the manager, and he said, "The possibility of a wonderful experience has come to my life. The ride across America is being organized by Chuck Offenberger and Don Benson for the summer of 1995.
My name is Ann.
Bicycling has been a part of my life for the last 9 years, and I have gone on RAGRI each of those years. The opportunity to spend 3 months from Memorial Day to Labor Day riding with 300 people will never happen again. The ride is being organized to extol Iowa. What a great chance it will be to talk to people all over the country and tell them about our spectacular state. In order to do this, I would use all my available vacation. For the remainder, I am asking you to approve leave of absence. You can appreciate, I'm sure, what an opportunity of a lifetime it is for me. Thank you for considering this matter." And then on May 16th of 94, I got a letter back from Chuck Offenberger, so I knew for sure I was going to be on the ride. And then on May 27th, I got approval from the city, the approval for the leave of absence had to go through the city manager, and so he approved that. exactly a year before I was going to be going. We were going from May 28th to September 4th. Oh yeah. So this is a jacket that was made with the route that we took, and it's only 3,000 miles across the country, but we rode 5,000 miles that summer because we weren't going on a straight line. We were going up and down and around. So we started out in Long Beach, California, and went up the coast to San Francisco and headed across Nevada and Idaho. We touched Montana for one night just as we were entering Yellowstone National Park. And then we went all through Wyoming and a corner of South Dakota, and then all across Nebraska, and it was really hot at that time. And we went through Iowa, and we were on RAGBRAI through Iowa, so we had 15,000 people instead of just 300 for that 1 week. Then we went on through Illinois and Kentucky and Ohio, Tennessee in there, Ohio, and then we just crossed over one little bump of West Virginia. We were there for one night. And across the southern part of Pennsylvania, and then down into Maryland and Washington, D.C., and that all took 3 months.
Wow.
What an adventure. Let's see. So I was 55 years old that summer, and the average, and that was also the average age of the group. The whole group the average age was 55. The oldest person was 78 years old, and the youngest person was 10.
Wow.
In fact, I think we had 2 kids that were 10, but there was one in particular that rode every mile. And we rode for 5,000 miles that summer. And she rode every mile on a tandem bicycle. So she and her dad were riding it. And I had so much admiration for the fact that they made all of it. I had help for about 233 miles out of the 5,000, so that was a good proportion. I had hoped to do every inch of it, but it became apparent that I needed help in several spots. Okay. Let's see. So I decided I was going to let all my friends around the country know that I was doing this. So instead of a Christmas letter, I sent out a spring letter a few months before the ride started, and I said, "So many exciting things have been happening in my life. I just had to send off a message to all of you. Starting Memorial Day, I will be biking across America with 300 people on the Iowa 150 Sesquicentennial Expedition. It takes all summer to go almost 5,000 miles from Long Beach, California, and ending in Washington, D.C. on Labor Day. Can you imagine what a lifetime adventure this will be? I have included the itinerary, and you'll be able to see all this stuff. You can look at things afterwards. So this list gives each day. It gives where how many miles we're going to be traveling that day, and the town that we were staying in. So there are 100 different places. Well, no, not quite that many, because we did have days off. Once in a while, we would end up being in one place for 2 days, just to get a break and do some laundry. Okay, let's see. The reason I sent out the itinerary was that I thought that people I knew might be interested in connecting with me, when I went past their spot. So I said, if you're able to connect with me, I would be delighted. At some point before the trip, I will know exactly where I'm staying on every one of the 100 nights. Let me know if you want any specific information. And John Bovey, my husband, will be holding things together at home, giving the two cats their mandatory tummy rubs each morning. They had to have their tummy rubs, so my husband stayed home for that. And along with this, I also sent out a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon that in fact, I will send this around. Okay, so what's happening with passing out things is they're going to go along here. Let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Stephanie will help to get it back to the back row. Okay, so pass it that direction, and I'll have a few other things that come along too. It really is amazing how well organized all this was. This is the list of all the places I was going to be. So there are 100 lines on this that show exactly where I'm going to be, and they did that for 300 people. There were 300 people, and they had to figure out where every one of them was going to be. And that included some people being in motels and some people camping, and they checked to see. I think I told them that I wanted to camp most of the time, but stay in a motel maybe once a week, and it turned out I stayed in a motel a little bit more often than that, but it was fine. And for the motels, they were not paying for the motels, if there was a camp fee, they let us know that what we had to pay for. So ahead of time, I'd already paid for the nights that I was staying in motels. So you can, this one can go around too. And then, it turned out that I think there was one place, maybe more, but I know there was one place where there were no motels, and they knew we were going to be staying in Merriman, Nebraska, I think it was, that had no motels. So everybody had to have camping equipment. There were some people that didn't want to camp at all, but they had to bring camping equipment. And I remember one woman having help from other bikers because she had never set up a tent before. And she had to set it up for that night. Then the other amazing part of the organizing was that they figured out exactly what routes we were going to be on for 100 days, and they made two little booklets. This one and this one. This is the first half, and this is the second half. Yep, that's the California to Iowa part, and this is it skips Iowa. There isn't a line in Iowa because we were on RAGRI, and so we were doing what RAGRI did, and we weren't actually together. I went with the regular team. I had a bike team that I went with on RAGRI, and so I was with them that week. And this one's from Illinois, all the way over to Washington, D.C. And what they did with this was they made a page for each day, and it gave a map of what the route looked like that we were going to be on, and it also gave a description of some of the things to watch for, like if there was a tricky place where you might miss a turn, they would let you know ahead of time to look for that. And then they also gave things to look for, historic landmarks and little pieces of history and things like that for each day. So there are 100 different days for all of that too. So you can pass these two along.
you have a sag wagon?
Yes, we did. We had an actual RAGBRAI sag wagon. That's it's sort of a trailer thing that's pulled behind a van.
Go ahead. I would think.
And part of the reason that we weren't together for our ride while we were in Iowa on RAGBRAI was that our sag wagon was being used on RAGBRAI. So it was occupied during that week, helping 15,000 people instead of 300. The number of people on the ride varied a lot because not everybody had the benefit of doing what I did, which was take the whole summer off. There were people that rode for a little bit at the beginning and then came back and rode a little bit at the end, and there were some people that could only ride part way and then had to go back to work or whatever they were doing. Let's see. Oh, this. Yeah. I have photographs. There are two albums. This first album is pictures that the whole group took, and so we had a photo exchange. So these are pictures, and these are all lined up from the beginning of the trip to the end of the trip. And the other album, in the red folder, are the pictures that I took, and I organized that by groups, so it isn't in chronological order. There's a beginning and an ending, but in the middle I did a group, like one of them was farms and barns. I liked those, and then I think I had another one that had trees and plants, and another section of people, which was both the people on the ride and people that we met along the way. I don't remember all the different sections, but you can look at those afterwards. And this small album that I'm going to send around is just a collection of a few of the ones that I took because I wanted to have a short version too. So you can look at that. And you're welcome to look through the others when we get finished too. Let's see. Let's see. When we arrived in Washington D.C., it was really a spectacular thing because the Capitol has that huge long mall going out from the Capitol, and the Lincoln Memorial is at the other end of it, and so we rode in there and set up on the mall, and let's see, there were several people that came to speak to us. I think Terry Branstad saw us off at the beginning in Long Beach, but he also came back to Washington D.C. and saw us there. And the special entertainment was Simon Estes, and I remember so well that beautiful deep voice singing Old Man River. So that was really special. And also, at the end, the President of the United States also sent a letter out to each one of us congratulating us on the trip. This was Bill Clinton at the time. He said, "Dear friends, Hillary and I send warm greetings to the participants of the Iowa 150 bike ride, a sesquicentennial expedition, as you complete your cross-country trek. We are delighted to welcome you to our nation's capital and to congratulate Chuck and Carla Offenberger and all the riders on your impressive achievement. As Iowa kicks off its the sesquicentennial celebration next year, each of you can be proud of your role as a roving ambassador of goodwill. You have played an important part in your state's rich history, exemplifying the spirit and ingenuity that have always defined America's heartland. Best wishes to all for much continued success. Bill Clinton. Let's see. I had hoped that riding on this bike ride would make me a more dedicated rider, but that hasn't happened. I only ended up going on one more bike ride after that. Well, let's see. I went on one rag ride after that, but then ended up still being with my team. But instead of riding a bike, I was the truck driver for 2 or 3 years for our teams. And when I moved to Oakville, I gave away all my biking equipment because that takes a lot of space, and I wasn't using it very much. So the last ride I took was in. I went to Europe for a bike ride in Holland and Germany, and I wore my shirt from that ride so that you could see it. So this is Holland and Germany in 2005. So this was 10 years actually after the Iowa 150. And this small book has pictures of the Netherlands ride that I took. That one can pass around too. So.
And was that an organized ride?
Yes, in fact, it was organized by Don Benson, the person who did the maps for my ride. He and his wife organized trips to Europe every summer, I think it was, and I just went on one of those. And it was a small group, just probably 20 people at the most. And it was really pleasant because I had never been in the Netherlands before, so it was great.
Nice, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe you've been to some of those places.
Yeah.
See if it's familiar.
If people have other questions, I'm sure there are lots of things I've forgotten to tell you, but
What did you like least as you were biking across the country? Was there something that either was very difficult or that you just didn't enjoy or that you wished you hadn't had to do?
Well, I enjoyed the whole trip, but I found out by the end that I didn't like having to build my own house every night.
I bet.
Putting up a tent.
I bet, yeah.
I was glad to come home by the time the end of the summer came. Yes?
I noticed that the distances indicated here are up to 82 miles. What was your average distance that you cycled every day?
I think the average was about 50, because there were some days that were over 100.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are pretty experienced.
Well, we were a very interesting collection of people. Some of them were really experienced riders who could get there quickly, and I got there with determination. It took me longer.
But you did it.
You did 82 miles in a day.
Yeah. Those were actually rag ride days are about like that too. In fact, this was except for the fact that it lasted for 3 months, this was actually a little bit easier pace than rag ride because we went between 50 and 100 miles each day. but on RAGBRAI, you don't have a day off. You go from Saturday, from Sunday through Saturday, a complete week without a break. And on the Iowa 150, we had at least one day a week that we stayed in where we were, and they tried to make the breaks in interesting places, like I think we had a couple nights in Yellowstone National Park because it was such a beautiful place to be able to explore around a little bit. Yes, Harold?
Did you have any wild animal adventure?
Let's see, some of the people did. I didn't. I think the wild animals I didn't like were the nasty drivers that tried to push some of us off the road. But no, I didn't run it. Some other people had bears outside their tent, but I missed that experience.
Federal?
Oh, yes.
What were your support troops? How many trucks or vehicles?
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I was not carrying my baggage, so we had a baggage truck
Yeah.
that carried everybody's sleeping bags and whatever other.
One truck?
Yeah, just one truck, yeah.
No other escort on the highway?
Well, we also had the sag wagon, so we had a person who would pick up our bicycle and take us to another spot, and she was willing to take us, just up to the top of the mountain if we wanted to, or take us all the way from there to the home camp. You could do whatever you wanted, and that it was really important to have that because bicycles break down sometimes, and it was really important to have her available. I did want to tell you about bike maintenance. I'm not a mechanic, and really was glad to have some help. I only had one flat tire in 5,000 miles, which is pretty amazing. And that time, other people came along and changed the tire for me, so I didn't have to handle that particular situation. So I was glad. And part of the reason I had good luck with that was that I had pretty heavy duty tires, so it took more than the usual amount to puncture it. And I changed the tires when I came through Iowa. I put on new tires even though they weren't completely worn out. I had safe tires for the second half again. And another thing that I figured out saved me from having flat tires was because when I was on a highway, there's a line along the side, and I would ride on the line, not over on the shoulder, because out there on the shoulder is where all the pieces of truck tires are, and wires and various things. So the part that I was on was pretty well blown off, and so I didn't run into much trouble with my tires.
How did you get to California to start?
Oh, that's a good question. They transported us from Des Moines. We had to get ourselves to Des Moines, and our bikes were all packed into boxes. Let's see, there's a picture of the box. My box was all decorated like a quilt by one of my friends, Janine Arnold. Decorated my box for me. Okay, and so the Bar None Trucking Company took our bicycles from Des Moines to Long Beach, and then took all the boxes back to Des Moines for the summer, and then when we got to Washington D.C., they brought the boxes back out, and we packed our bicycles up again in Washington D.C. and they brought the bikes back to point. So we had to have somebody transport us, and of course John did that all for me.
What you have to do to your bike, the box, and take off the handlebars and what else?
The pedals, I think, yeah, just the handlebars and the pedals. I think that's all I had to take off. Oh, and the wheels. The wheels had to be in there too.
If you're not a mechanic.
No, I'm not a mechanic, so there was somebody there helping us pack up our bikes at the end, yeah. I had somebody in Iowa City pack up my bike in a bike shop for the trip out to California. And then there were mechanics there in Long Beach that put all our bikes together. And then there were mechanics in Washington D.C. when they brought the bike boxes back to us. There were mechanics that helped there too. So I got along on smiles and not much knowledge.
Did you have any days that were particularly memorable in one respect or another?
Let's see. Being in Gillette, Wyoming was a special stop because it was July 4th and they had a July 4th parade and let us be part of their small town parade. It was fun. And then Centerville, yeah, I think it was Tennessee's. Centerville, Tennessee really put out a lot for us. They opened up their homes, and so I think everybody ended up being in a house someplace, and I was in a house with about 10 other people, and we were camped on the floor, but we were inside. We didn't have to put up a tent that night, so that was important. And they had a barbecue for us and a street dance, and Chuck Offenberger had been in that town during college, and so he knew some people there, and they just got the whole community. When we were coming in, there were very few times when we had to be together, and one time was when we were arriving into this town of Centerville, Tennessee, because they wanted everybody to come in at once because they had the high school cheerleaders out greeting us. They just really gave us a very special time. And probably I had done a certain amount of training beforehand, not as much as other people. I had done about 1,000 miles training before this ride, but other people had done 3,000 or 4,000 miles training. And so you end up just getting used to the kind of pain that it is to be sitting on a bicycle seat for 10 hours a day. But I found that the thing that never went away, that my legs managed to get along all right after we got out of the mountains. My legs got along all right, but I found that my wrists were always tired because I was using a bike that had dropped handlebars. It wasn't a mountain bike that you just sort of sit up there and ride it. So I was really putting a lot of pressure on my wrists, and so they were sore all the time, and I was really glad to get home and not have to do that anymore. That's probably all I have, and you can come and look up these albums if you want to. There's also this is a video that they made of the trip, but it's 2 hours, so I wasn't going to take that much time.
It's a very interesting picture that you have of the Mount Rushmore among the trees. I've never seen it that way, and that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
You took that, yeah.
Yeah, I took that one, yeah.
Very nice.
Well, no one has any more questions right now for Wetherill. Of course, after she's done, you can go through some of her albums and her clippings that are up here on the table. She's more than happy to share those with us, unless anybody has any other questions.
This article is about Don Koch, and some of you might just know him. He was a geologist here at Iowa, but his wife was Jean Koch, who was our receptionist for many years. She's retired now, but Don Koch was one of my friends on the right. Okay.
Well, thank you, Wetherill. Thank you for your patience. I know the sound isn't the best in here. We'll try to have a better system next time when Wetherill does her third program for us, which I'm sure she will. But I appreciate you coming
I gave a
today.
program once before you were here. It was my knitted animals. I showed all 16 of those. That was a downstairs event. So this was my third event.
Yes, and we appreciate you volunteering to do this for us. And
Thank you. It was fun.
yes, thank you so much, Wetherill.